So you might be trying to figure out what the differences are between a Samsung Galaxy S25 and the iPhone 13. Now, these two phones are very interesting because they are very different. The Galaxy S25 is basically a flagship, but it's a flagship of this year. The iPhone 13 is basically a phone that came out back in 2021. It's supposed to be more like a mid-tier phone, but let's go and see how both these phones kind of compare nowadays. If you want to pick up either one of these devices, the links will be down in the description below. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these phones, the iPhone 13, which came out back in 2021. On the front side of this phone is giving you a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. Now, this type of panel for the most part was pretty decent for the most part. It really wasn't that bad of a panel. It still looks good for the most part. If you're trying to go and buy a phone, this thing is pretty solid. So it's a standard display. You're getting the notch at the very top. And that's kind of all you're getting, right? There's not really anything else super insane going on with it. I wish we were able to go ahead and buy a phone that was going to be giving us like a 120 Hz display here or something like that. Unfortunately, this device does not give us any capability like that at all. So kind of keep that in mind. But I would probably tell you that with the iPhone 13, for it being about almost a 4-year-old phone this year, I guess it's kind of what you'd expect for the most part. But like I said, with the iPhone 13, that one I think was it's not really that great anymore, but it's not really terrible either. The Galaxy S25 though, on the other hand, is substantially better here. The Samsung Galaxy S25 is basically giving you a massive, it's not massive, but it's a little bit bigger, 6.2-inch dynamic LTPO AMOLED display. This type of panel for the most part still looks very, very good, and that is such a nice panel to go ahead and basically pick up. The Galaxy S25, with it giving you that size display, first of all, the display itself is really nice, but on top of that, 120 Hz, that's also a really nice thing, and it gives you 2600 nits of brightness inside of that panel. That is more than twice as bright, when compared to something like the Samsung Galaxy, than something like the iPhone 13. So that right there, again, is another massive thing to keep in mind there as well. So if you're going to go through and pick up that phone, well, that in and of itself is a very big thing to basically keep in mind. And me personally, I love having that type of capability. Being able to go through and buy something like a Samsung Galaxy S25 that's going to be giving me a whole bunch of display, way better display, better capability. Like that is the phone that for sure looks better than the iPhone 13. On the bottom, the iPhone 13 is also giving you a lightning port, so that in and of itself is a pretty big thing to keep in mind. The Galaxy S25 is giving you USB Type-C. Clearly USB-C is better here. Throughout the rest, flat sides on both. On the back side, glass back on the iPhone 13, but a frosted glass back on the back of the Galaxy S25. So that right there is also another really big advantage there. On the Galaxy S25, just being able to go through and basically be able to pick up that phone and get that type of feeling with the triple camera setup on the backside is another really nice thing to keep in mind there too. So when we take a look at the outside, definitely in my personal opinion, the Samsung Galaxy S25, not even my personal opinion, just in general, that is a way better feeling and performing phone than the iPhone 13. But the iPhone 13 is also somewhat of an older device, so maybe we can kind of give it some slack there. Now, on top of that, some other big things to keep in mind. The Samsung Galaxy S25, the price tag of this phone is about $800. The iPhone 13 is about $283. So it is hundreds of dollars cheaper to go and buy something like an iPhone 13 than a Samsung Galaxy S25. So that right there, once again, is another really big thing to keep in mind. And if you're gonna go pick up a phone, well, then it might make a lot of sense to buy something like an iPhone 13 if you want a cheaper device. And that is probably the main area where this phone kind of does better. It's really the only area I can think of where that phone does better. Now, on top of that, when you take a look at the cameras between them, this is also something interesting. So the iPhone 13 is basically giving you a 12 megapixel wide and a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera, where the Galaxy S25 is giving you a 50 megapixel wide angle camera, 10 megapixel telephoto lens, then a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera. So this right there is another very interesting thing to keep in mind here, because if you're going to go through and pick up a phone, well then if you're wanting the better camera, not only are you getting more cameras on the Galaxy S25, the camera count, the megapixels are higher. These cameras in the Galaxy S25 are very, very good. It's a newer phone, and you're getting 8K capability on the back that you can film in. That is a very important thing to keep in mind. You're still maintaining 4K 60 on the front and the back of both of these phones, but being able to go through and get that 8K capability in and of itself is a very, very cool thing. And I love having that type of capability when it comes down to it. Now, I do think with the iPhone 13, like this type of camera is still good for the most part too. Like it really isn't that bad. And if you're going to go through and pick up a phone, you're probably still getting like a pretty decent device, and a pretty decent panel in terms of the camera within that type of phone too. So it's not really like super terrible or super outdated or anything like that. But clearly there's levels to it. And the Samsung Galaxy S25 definitely is a way better camera here, without a doubt. Now, when it comes down to software longevity, this is also another interesting thing. If you are wanting the phone that's going to be giving you a longer lasting software support, the Samsung Galaxy S25 is probably going to be the winner here as well. That phone is going to be giving you just more capability when it comes down to it, but also it's going to be giving you 7 years of software updates, looking at the future of this type of device. That is a super important thing to keep in mind, because the iPhone 13, it's still supported with software and it's probably going to be getting like several more years of software updates. But that Samsung Galaxy S25, with it literally just getting started with software, it's a very big deal. If you're wanting the phone that's going to be giving you more software updates, then definitely, without a doubt, the Samsung Galaxy S25 is going to be the winner here as well. When it comes down to the batteries, the Galaxy S25, it basically is giving you a 4,000 mAh battery. The iPhone 13, 3,240 mAh battery. So this right there is another very important thing to keep in mind there too, because if you're wanting the phone that's going to be giving you better capability, well, once again, the Galaxy S25 is probably going to be the one that's going to be the better one. So I do think this in and of itself is a very important thing to keep in mind there too. So, if you're wanting the better battery life, it's definitely going to be on the Galaxy S25. And finally, when it comes down to the performance, the iPhone 13 was giving you the Apple A15 Bionic chip inside of it with 4GB of RAM, while the Galaxy S25 is giving you the Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset with 12GB of RAM. Now, you could probably imagine which one is the better performing device here. Now, the iPhone 13 was alright, it was good when it first came out, but it was never like the top of the top. This phone was never really focused on the performance, to be honest. I thought it was a good performing phone. I think it even had the same chipset as the iPhone 14, which is interesting. But here's the thing, with the Galaxy S25, this phone's performance is so good. It is a very good performing device. And I definitely do think if you're going to go through and pick up a phone, that is a very good performing device from that particular perspective. And that's something I love a lot about that particular phone. And I think with the iPhone 13, it's still okay, but that Galaxy S25, there's really not that much competition here. So from that side too, that kind of covers it up there for the most part as well. So overall, to kind of sum up this whole entire video, what I definitely will tell you is that with a device like the Samsung Galaxy S25, this is clearly probably the better device in almost every single way you can imagine. The Galaxy S25 is giving you better display, better performance, better battery life, better camera, longevity, like longer software support, like everything is going for the Galaxy S25. The iPhone 13, I think, only really wins when it comes down to maybe like, I honestly don't even know. There's not really too many areas the iPhone 13 wins at, but the 13 is still a good phone. But there's a lot more phones in between these two that I would also recommend buying that are still very good options. I think an iPhone 14 Pro is a very good option to buy. I think a Samsung Galaxy S23 is also a very good option to buy as well. So if you don't want to go for either one, go for an iPhone 14 Pro or go for a Galaxy S23. Those are very good options in the middle of these two as well. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.